Hello, Polka Minders! Welcome to the Polka Pod Psych Edition, where I'm going to talk about everything psychology, from the complexities of human behavior to practical tips for your mental well-being. I'm your host Katja, a licensed clinical psychologist, and today I'm going to poke some minds. Hello, Polka Minders. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we continue to talk about defense mechanisms and we'll have a closer look at sublimation, reaction formation, identification, and introjection. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Let's start with sublimation. Sublimation is a psychological defense mechanism where individuals channel unacceptable impulses, thoughts, or emotions into socially acceptable activities or behaviors. This mechanism allows individuals to transform potentially harmful energy into positive, constructive actions that benefit themselves and society. Sublimation is considered one of the more adaptive defense mechanisms because it can lead to productive and socially beneficial outcomes. So with this mechanism, we will highlight positives but also negative aspects of sublimation. One example of how sublimation can show itself is through overworking, channeling feelings of inadequacy into an intense focus on work, thereby avoiding dealing with personal issues. For example, an individual feels insecure about their personal life and struggles with feelings of inadequacy. Instead of addressing these feelings directly, they immerse themselves in their job, working long hours and taking on additional projects. This intense focus on work allows them to gain professional recognition and success, which boosts their self-esteem and diverts their attention from their personal insecurities. Unfortunately, this type of overworking might also lead to burnout. Another example is related to compulsive behavior. One can redirect obsessive tendencies into socially acceptable outlets, such as meticulous hobbies or rigorous exercise routines. For instance, a person has a tendency towards obsessive behavior, but rather than letting this manifest in harmful ways, they channel their energy into training for marathons. Their rigorous exercise routine not only helps them to stay physically fit, but also provides a structured outlet for their obsessive tendencies. Sublimation can also show itself through creative arts, channeling intense emotions into artistic expression, such as painting, writing, or music. For example, an individual experiences intense emotions that they find difficult to express verbally. They channel these feelings into their artwork, creating powerful paintings that resonate with others. This process of sublimation allows them to process emotions constructively and share their experience in a socially acceptable manner. Another example are sports. For instance, an individual has a lot of pent-up aggression, and instead of expressing this aggression in destructive ways, they channel it into, for example, playing rugby. The physical and competitive nature of the sport provides an acceptable outlet for their aggressive impulses, promoting teamwork and physical fitness. Also, volunteering can be a form of sublimation. Transforming feelings of helplessness or frustration into helping others through volunteer work. For example, an individual might feel overwhelmed by global issues and experiences a sense of helplessness. They channel these feelings into volunteering. This positive action helps them feel empowered and make a meaningful impact in their community. Another example can be academic pursuits. Redirecting curiosity or unconventional thoughts into academic research or studies. For instance, someone who has unconventional ideas and a deep curiosity about human behavior can channel this curiosity into a career in psychology, conducting research that contributes to the understanding of human nature. This sublimation allows them to explore their interests in a structured and socially beneficial way. In conclusion, sublimation is a defense mechanism that involves channeling unacceptable impulses into socially acceptable and constructive activities. Next up is reaction formation. Reaction formation is a psychological defense mechanism where an individual acts in a manner opposite to their unacceptable thoughts or feelings. This mechanism helps to reduce anxiety by masking true feelings and impulses that are considered undesirable or inappropriate. By behaving in a way that is diametrically opposed to their actual inclinations, individuals protect themselves from the discomfort associated with their real emotions. Reaction formation can be an underlying cause of procrastination, displaying overconfidence and nonchalance about deadlines to mask deep-seated fears of failure. For instance, an individual consistently puts off starting their assignments and projects until the last minute. Despite their procrastination, they exude overconfidence, boasting to their peers about how they work best under pressure and will easily meet the deadlines. This behavior masks their underlying fear of failure and self-doubt, making it difficult for them to acknowledge and address these insecurities. Reaction formation can also show itself through substance abuse. Advocating for a healthy lifestyle while secretly engaging in substance use. For example, a person is known among their friends for promoting a healthy lifestyle, emphasizing the importance of diet, exercise, and abstinence from harmful substances. However, in private, they might struggle with alcohol addiction and often drink excessively. Their public advocacy for health serves as a reaction formation, allowing them to conceal their personal battle with substance abuse. Another example is hostility, showing excessive kindness and friendliness to someone they actually dislike or envy. For instance, an individual feels intense jealousy towards their colleague who recently got a promotion they desired. Instead of acknowledging their jealousy, they go out of their way to be overly friendly and complimentary towards their colleague, suppressing their true feelings of envy and resentment. Even sexual orientation can be influenced by reaction formation, like expressing strong homophobic views to counteract one's own same-sex attractions. For example, a person who has unacknowledged same-sex attractions becomes an outspoken critic of the LGBTQ+ rights and actively participates in anti-LGBTQ+ campaigns. The extreme opposition serves as a way to deny and conceal their true feelings from themselves and others. Reaction formation can also show itself through parental overprotection. A parent who feels resentful about the demands of parenthood may become overly protective. For example, a parent who sometimes feels overwhelmed and resentful about the sacrifices they have to make for their children compensates by becoming excessively protective and attentive to their needs. This over-the-top care masks their underlying feelings of resentment and guilt. Another example is perfectionism. Exhibiting extreme perfectionism to cover up feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. For instance, an individual feels deeply insecure about their abilities and fears being judged as incompetent. To counteract these feelings, they become obsessively perfectionistic in their work, striving for flawless results and criticizing themselves harshly for any perceived shortcomings. This behavior is a reaction formation that hides their underlying self-doubt. One might also overcompensate in relationships, demonstrating excessive affection and devotion to a partner to conceal fears of abandonment or feelings of unworthiness. For example, a person is afraid that they're not good enough for their partner and fear being left. To cope, they shower their partner with lavish gifts, constant attention, and exaggerate declarations of love, trying to mask their insecurities and fear of abandonment. In conclusion, reaction formation is a defense mechanism where individuals act in a way that is opposite to their unacceptable thoughts or feelings. Let's talk about identification next. Identification is a psychological defense mechanism where an individual adopts the characteristics, behaviors, or attributes of someone else, usually someone more powerful or capable. This mechanism helps individuals to feel more aligned with someone they admire or aspire to be like, reducing feelings of inadequacy and enhancing their sense of identity and self-worth. However, over-reliance on identification can lead to a loss of individuality and the avoidance of personal growth. Even identification can be an underlying cause of procrastination. For example, imitating a mentor or role model who is also known to procrastinate. Let's say an individual admires their colleague who openly discusses their own tendencies to procrastinate but still manages to be successful. They start to adopt this procrastination habit, believing it is a trait that contributes their colleague's success. They convince themselves that procrastination can be a part of their own success strategy, avoiding the need to develop better time management skills. Another example is substance abuse. Adopting the substance use patterns of a peer group to feel accepted. An individual might start drinking heavily because their close group of friends regularly consumes alcohol at social gatherings. By mimicking their behavior, this person feels a sense of belonging and acceptance within the group. This identification with their peers' substance use helps them to cope with feelings of social anxiety and the need for acceptance, even though it may lead to harmful consequences. Also, career choices can be influenced by identification. Choosing a career path based on the admiration of a parent or significant figure. For example, an individual decides to pursue a career in law because their father is a successful lawyer. They identify with the father's sense of accomplishment and respect within the community, adopting his career aspirations as their own. This identification helps them to feel closer to their father and validated in their professional choices, though it might not reflect their true interests. Another example is behavioral traits. Adopting the assertive or dominant traits of a mentor to handle social or professional situations. For instance, a person who feels insecure about their leadership abilities begins to imitate the assertive and commanding presence of their boss, whom they admire. This identification helps them to feel more confident and capable in their role, but it might suppress their natural leadership style and hinder authentic self-expression. Even coping mechanisms can be influenced by identification. Emulating the coping strategies of a resilient figure during stressful times. For example, an individual facing a personal crisis starts practicing meditation and mindfulness because their admired older sibling uses these techniques to manage stress effectively. This identification with their siblings' coping mechanisms provide them with tools to handle their own stress, though it may also prevent them from exploring other strategies that might be more suited to their personality. Someone can also align their values and beliefs with those of a respected mentor or leader. For example, an individual who is uncertain about their own moral and ethical views adopts the values and beliefs of their charismatic mentor. This identification helps them to feel more grounded and sure about themselves, but it may also prevent them from critically evaluating and developing their own set of beliefs. In conclusion, identification is a defense mechanism where individuals adopt the characteristics of someone more powerful or capable to enhance their sense of identity and self-worth. This can be good and bad, as it may lead to positive growth and self-improvement, but it can also result in a loss of individuality or unhealthy comparisons. And the last one we'll talk about for today is introjection. Introjection is a psychological defense mechanism where individuals internalize the beliefs, attitudes, or behaviors of others, often those of parents, authority figures, or significant others. This mechanism helps individuals to feel connected to these influential figures and can provide a sense of security and identity. However, introjection can also lead to internal conflicts and the adoption of negative or unhelpful attitudes and behaviors. Examples can include conflicts with family members or friends, internalizing critical views from parents or authority figures, leading to internal conflict and outward arguments. For example, an individual has grown up with a father who constantly criticizes their efforts and achievements, saying things like, "You'll never be good enough." Over time, this person internalizes these critical views, believing them to be true. As an adult, they struggle with self-esteem issues and frequently get into arguments with friends and family, projecting their internalized self-criticism onto them. Introjection can influence our own self-worth, internalizing demeaning or belittling comments from others, which affects one's self-esteem. For example, someone's mother often tells them that they're not smart enough to succeed. Over time, they start to believe this and internalize these comments, leading to a pervasive sense of low self-worth. This internal conflict affects their confidence and performance in various aspects of their life, including their career and relationships. Another example is moral and ethical beliefs. Adopting the strict moral and ethical codes of a significant authority figure without question. For instance, an individual that grows up in a household with rigid religious beliefs. They internalize these beliefs and adhere to them strictly, even when they conflict with their own personal experiences or feelings. This can lead to internal struggles and guilt whenever the actions or thoughts deviate from these internalized codes. Even our coping mechanisms can be influenced by introjection. Adopting unhealthy coping mechanisms from influential figures. For example, an individual witnesses their parent coping with stress by overeating. As they grow older, they internalize this behavior and also turn to food as a way to manage their own stress, despite knowing it's not a healthy coping strategy. This introjection can lead to issues with weight and self-image. Introjection can also be the cause of underlying perfectionism, internalizing the high expectations and perfectionist attitudes of a parent or mentor. For example, an individual's coach always emphasized perfection in sports, criticizing any mistake harshly. They internalize this attitude, becoming overly critical of themselves and striving for unrealistic standards in all areas of life. This perfectionism leads to high stress and anxiety, as well as difficulties in accepting and learning from mistakes. Another example is fear of failure. Adopting a fear of failure from significant others, which hampers personal growth and risk-taking. For instance, an individual's parents always warn them about the dangers of failure, stressing the importance of playing it safe. They internalize this fear of avoiding new opportunities and challenges because they are terrified of failing. This introjection stifles their personal and professional growth, keeping them within their comfort zone. In conclusion, introjection is a defense mechanism where individuals internalize the beliefs, attitudes, or behaviors of others, often those of influential figures in their lives. Long story short, sublimation means channeling unacceptable impulses into socially acceptable and constructive activities. Reaction formation is acting in a manner opposite to one's unacceptable thoughts or feelings to reduce anxiety. Identification means adopting the characteristics of someone more powerful or capable to enhance one's sense of identity and self-worth. Introjection is internalizing the beliefs, attitudes, or behaviors of others. Understanding these mechanisms and their manifestations help in recognizing how individuals manage internal conflicts and emotional stress. Addressing these unconscious processes can lead to healthier coping mechanisms and improved emotional well-being. For today, I'd like to leave it at that. Next episode, we are going to take a closer look at intellectualization, suppression, fantasy, and isolation of affect. If you have any questions or would like to suggest topics, you're always welcome to write to team@pokermind.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope I poked some minds today. See ya!